This is Aviron, the gamified rowing machine that claims to end boring workouts with fun, habit-forming fitness designed to keep you coming back. But is Aviron actually fun enough to get an ADHD couch potato like me off my ass and exercising every day? Or is it just the latest workout gimmick that'll wind up collecting dust in your garage once the novelty wears off? To find out, I used Aviron every single day for the past 30 days. Yes, everything hurts, but it was worth it. Because now I can show you the absolute best games, apps, and features unique to Aviron, plus what I hated about the rower, how my first 30 days using Aviron went as a complete beginner to rowing, and what I'm telling my own friends and family about Aviron, including my simple criteria to determine who should buy one and who should absolutely not buy one. Plus, stick around till the end for 3 powerful psychology hacks that'll help you get this or any habit to stick for good. But first, let's start at the beginning. Why the f*** did I think it was a good idea to get a 7-foot-long gamified rowing machine despite the fact that I live in a 400 square foot condo? Great question. Just like your wife when she tells you she's too tired tonight, we will always find an excuse to get out of something we don't want to do. I tried CrossFit last year, and honestly, while the instructors were great, I just didn't enjoy the sport very much, so I struggled to make it to class even 3 times per week. I'm just not that competitive about 6 a.m. burpees. Sorry, Coach Jennifer. But that's when an idea sort of clicked for me. Because I don't think the cause of a sedentary lifestyle is so much about people being lazy as it is about people being bored with conventional workouts. I sure as fuck couldn't spend 30 minutes on a Stairmaster, but I enjoyed every step of my agonizing 3-hour near vertical ascent hiking up Machu Picchu.
How you doing?
It's not challenge that stops us from exercising, it's a lack of enjoyment for the process. So I started looking for a way to try and leverage this psychological reality, and that's how I discovered Aviron. Aviron uses the science of gamification to try and make exercise fun and addicting. If you've ever played any kind of video game ever, you can probably imagine why something like this might work, at least in theory. Video games are dopamine goldmines. They provide novelty, near instant gratification, and observable progress. As an adult with ADHD, video games are one of my biggest vices, so the idea of reshaping my worst habit into 6-pack abs was extremely appealing to me. I also figured if this machine was any good, it could help me bypass pretty much every single mental obstacle that's gotten between me and exercise in the past. No more planning my whole day around a specific group class time slot. No more long drive to the gym in traffic. No more wait times to use gym equipment covered in someone else's ass sweat. And best of all, if I'm being honest, no more forced small talk with other humans. But again, while all this sounds great in theory, I've learned from testing tons of health tech on this channel that when a product sounds too good to be true, it usually is. So without further ado, let's fire up the Aviron Rower and see how it runs Skyrim. All right. Before I catch a lawsuit, that was a joke. You obviously can't play Skyrim on Aviron, but there are over 1,000 other games, classes, challenges, activities, and apps on this bad boy. And I'll tell you right now, some of these programs are really cool, while other features might leave customers second-guessing their purchase. I'm going to make it easy to figure out what makes sense for you personally, but if you do decide to give Aviron a try, I'll drop a link down below that I'll keep updated with the best current deal possible, and using this link will also help support the channel, which I always appreciate. So, as a gamer myself, I was immediately skeptical about the ability of any game played on a rowing machine to be legitimately fun. The problem is obvious. There's a serious limitation on input when your controller is just a rowing machine bar. No directional pads, no X and circle buttons, just good old-fashioned oomph. And you're gonna get to watch me catch fish like that later, you little weirdo you. But before I show you the games you came here to see, let me edge you just a little bit longer with some of Aviron's more traditional features. I wound up getting Aviron's Rower rather than their new gamified bike or treadmill options because rowing is a full body workout and not just for cardio. The Aviron Rower can even be used to do arm workouts, but we'll talk more about that later. There are a few different bundle options on the site, but I went with the Strong Series Rower over the Strong Go for reasons I'll explain later. I also got the package with the cloud seat, quick adjust remote, and hook and loop straps. These just make rowing on the machine a lot more comfortable and convenient, so it's easier to tolerate longer workouts. But I'm probably one of the few tech YouTubers who hates getting hung up on specs, so let's actually strap into the rower and see what this thing can do. My initial thoughts when firing up my Aviron Rower were mostly positive. The platform itself is very intuitive and attractive, but I don't have much experience rowing, so I decided to start with one of Aviron's structured programs called Introduction to Rowing, and I think this was a pretty good choice for me, because the instructor did a great job of teaching me how to row properly and effectively, while also walking me through some simple warm-ups and cool-downs, which are actually extremely important for someone like me who already has a torn rotator cuff and doesn't want to f anything up worse than it already is. There are tons of guided workouts and coach classes on here for all experience levels. My first month rowing, I mostly stuck to the beginner and intermediate stuff, and you'll see why that is in just a bit. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that there are actually tons of guided workouts on here that incorporate other exercises beyond just rowing. For example, programming that'll have you hopping off the machine to do some bodyweight exercises like push-ups, pull-ups, or even dumbbell curls, depending on what kind of equipment you have available. And while I hated CrossFit when I tried it, if you do come from a CrossFit background, you'll feel right at home with the EMOMs and AMRAPs built into some of these workouts. After banging out a few classes and feeling confident I wouldn't hurt myself, I decided to give some games a shot. I decided, rather than playing solo, to jump into the group workout lobby where I joined 2 other people for a game of Rags to Riches. This particular game has you team up against waves of pirate ships where each completed row fires a cannonball that damages the enemy ship's health bar. The goal is to sink each enemy ship as quickly as possible before they have a chance to get close and fire at you. But these games do go a little bit deeper than you might think. Like occasionally these games might offer you a chance to earn a quick weapon power up by quickly getting your strokes per minute to fall within a certain range. And as you hit certain milestones that add up each time you play, you'll also unlock permanent abilities like greater attack damage or longer countdown windows that'll give you an advantage in all future rounds of the game. You also earn in-game currency for every minute rowed, which can be spent to unlock new levels of certain games, customized avatar items, and backgrounds. After my first time playing with a stranger online, I actually saw that she friend requested me, which adds a pretty cool social component to Aviron. By the way, drop a comment down below if you've already gotten Aviron and want to be Aviron friends, because I'll totally jump into some games with you guys. I definitely liked some of these games more than others. The input limitation of using a rower for a controller can be extremely frustrating at times, especially when some of these games use strokes per minute as an input to move up and down.
Damn it!
I will admit this could be a little bit of a skill issue on my part since I'm not that great at pacing just yet.
Fuck!
But some of these games I really did enjoy, like Boss Breaker, which is a pretty simple brick breaker style game that requires rowing to elongate the slowly shrinking bottom platform. While it would be even cooler if you could directly move the platform around, it still requires a fair bit of strategy to recognize when you're in a good position to take it slow versus when you really need to go all out to avoid missing the ball and losing a life. There's also one that plays a lot like Guitar Hero and uses strokes per minute to let you switch lanes, and I genuinely enjoy that one too. Are these mind-blowing games that I go to sleep thinking about because I want to hurry up and wake up to play them again? Of course not. But I don't think they need to be. Frankly, I'd say they're right about on par with a lot of modern mobile games, and I think that's a pretty good start from a company basically pioneering video game-based exercise machines. What I care about isn't that Aviron creates the rowing machine version of Zelda, but that the machine does a better job of keeping me engaged and consistent than all the things I've tried that couldn't get the habit to stick in the past. And the fact is, I was much more engaged trying to keep that stupid ball from going out of bounds than I ever could be just staring forward watching time pass by on the clock. I was actually surprised to see how many meters more I had rowed while playing the games than I did while doing the virtual rowing programs that take you along a VR-style scenic water route. But after all this training, I was starting to feel confident in my rowing skills. So I headed over to the Pros vs. Joes section to put my skills to the test against an award-winning professional. I chose to race Pei Chen Lin, a sure victory for me against this teenage girl from Taiwan. Fuck, she's cheating. This machine is broken. But as you just saw, Aviron isn't perfect. There was clearly some kind of glitch in my race against Pei Chen Lin that allowed her to beat me. And I definitely noticed some other areas where there's room for improvement. So let's talk about the drawbacks of Aviron. Honestly, I think that most of my criticisms so far come from seeing the massive potential that could be tapped into. Right now, I'd say the games are fairly engaging and certainly more fun than watching a basic-ass calculator screen showing me how many meters I've rowed, but I think Aviron could take it so much farther, and it's still a relatively young company, so I'm hoping that they do over time. Like, give me an old school RPG with simple rowing based quests. Give me a game called Viking Quest and let me row longships with the homies. We can customize our little Viking builds and get stronger gear over time, and we can use that to progress through harder levels. Or a dungeon crawler with stats based loot and gear. A rowing stroke could totally work as a sword swing and people would be hooked. I'd also love to see a future version of the Aviron Rower incorporate some kind of additional input, like a very basic directional pad, because this would just open the door to so much potential with different kinds of games. Obviously, I realize there are hardware constraints, and this would probably make the device hundreds of dollars more expensive to produce, but I think it'd be worth it. The only other thing I don't love is the subscription. Honestly, subscriptions are just something I'm always going to bitch about. I just hate them. If you've seen my other videos, you know this, but I also want to be fair here because the rower itself is still functional without the subscription, and at $24 a month for the annual plan, it is the cheapest subscription I'm aware of for a rowing machine. Unfortunately, there's just no such thing as a subscription-free exercise machine with classes and lessons, much less one with new games being added every month, so this is one of the very rare cases where I think a subscription is justified, especially since I paid $200 a month for gym memberships in the past, CrossFit, and frankly, now that I own one, I want the company to continue to invest and improve upon their program offerings, and if that's what the subscription helps them do, I'm okay with it. But the people want Viking Quest. Aviron has definitely gotten me into rowing and made the habit stick these past 30 days. I'm not bored yet, and if I do get bored, I might wind up checking out Aviron's new bike or treadmill to spice things up a bit. The gamification is working much better for me than rushing to a crowded gym every day, sharing equipment with strangers, and watching the clock tick by. But just because it's working for me doesn't mean it'll work for you. So here's what I'm telling my own friends and family about Aviron to help them decide whether or not it's right for them. Here's who should buy. First, I think, are people who have struggled to make good exercise habits stick. Look, I haven't been ripped since college, but every year I kid myself into thinking that this is the year I suddenly fall in love with going to the gym again. It never works, and if you can relate, it might be time you try something different too. Second are people with ADHD or people who crave novelty, variety, and excitement. I'm mostly a noob, but I have used other rowers before when doing CrossFit in the past, and I didn't enjoy them. Actually, I hated them. And as a gamer with a short attention span, I find that this actually helps time fly by for me, and it might do the same for you. And third are people who would like to get fit at home as efficiently as possible, especially if you don't want to have a whole home gym set up and you're only getting one piece of big equipment. Because look, rowing is an awesome exercise. It activates 86% of our muscles and it's great cardio. If you hate squats, but you don't want to skip leg day outright, Aviron is a great way to build legs and back with up to 100 pounds resistance for strength training. Rowing in general is also often selected as many athletes' desert island exercise. That is the one piece of gym equipment they would bring to an island with them if they could only bring one. And I guess it would also be a handy skill to have in case they found a raft. Another good point for some people as an added bonus is that since Aviron can stream shows from Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, etc., and play music from Spotify or Apple Music, it essentially fills the role of an extra TV or speaker in your home gym or whatever other room it's in. Now here's who shouldn't buy Aviron. First are people who already have great gym habits and love rowing. Seriously, rowing is a competitive sport in and of itself, so obviously there are people who find it inherently enjoyable. If you're one of those people, you probably don't need something like this unless you're hitting some major motivational plateaus. And second are people who actually want a more traditional rowing machine. And I'm being serious here because it's a totally valid preference. Some people prefer the more traditional gym standard rower that I consider boring, like the Concept 2. Others prefer the classic feel of a wooden frame and water resistance, which I can't stand. You should get whatever makes the most sense for you. By the way, if my Aviron ever breaks down on me or I just find a better option, I will definitely let you know down in the description, so check down there for updates and to get the current best deal if you do decide to buy one. Plus, using this link will also help support the channel, which I greatly appreciate. I've also got 3 of my favorite psychology hacks to help make the habit stick for you, so make sure to look for those down below the video. Otherwise, check out one of my other favorite health tech products right here. A chair that'll literally fix your posture and correct back pain forever. Look at that. Like, comment, subscribe.